Coffee and Connection is happening. I don't have any coffee. Oh, good thing I have Whitney for my wife.
Good morning, you guys.
Christmas Coffee and Connection. Cheers.
Yeah. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday to everyone. Good to see you here. Oh, I have no way to see anyone's comments. Do you have a phone nearby?
Good thing I do. You're a good team.
She's got everything. I came here with nothing, and Whitney's completely got me covered.
So last Coffee and Connection, I don't know if you guys were watching or did watch. We were in, for the month of November, we had a goal to be outside for every Coffee and Connection when it's freezing. And we decided to go for a walk with Duke. And if you didn't see it, it's pretty funny. It was chaos.
It did not go smoothly.
No.
Even the battery ran out.
Yeah.
In the midst of all of it, I wish that it could have been rolling so you could have seen how hard Whitney started laughing. I was like, one thing after another kept going wrong, all the way to where like a dog was fighting with Duke as we were trying to do Coffee Connection.
Christmas sweater.
Yeah, he's in a Christmas sweater. The other dog's owner doesn't know that she's on TV at the moment, live on Facebook, and her dog's fighting with Duke, and they're yelling at each other, and Whitney's trying to get Duke, and I'm still trying to do Coffee Connection in the front as we're walking along. Boom! Battery just goes dead.
Jake wasn't laughing as much as I was.
No,
but...
I didn't think it was that funny.
Anyway, so if you missed it, you should definitely go back because it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
Good morning, Seth.
Hey, Seth.
How's the Carolinas? Good morning, Deb and Gary.
Good to see everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see Deb and Gary
Yeah.
in real life pretty soon.
Super soon.
Not next Wednesday, but the Wednesday after Coffee and Connection on location, Manhattan Beach, California.
Yes, that's so exciting. Seth, what are you doing for Christmas? Are you guys staying in the Carolinas? Speaking of which, do Deb and Gary know we're taking Duke on the airplane?
Mm-hmm.
We're taking Duke on the airplane. We're flying with him for the first time. So I'm a little nervous, but I think it'll go great.
Yeah.
It better go great.
He'll be a champ.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. So, it's cold where you are?
Oh, dang.
What?
Well, maybe South Carolina's warmer.
Oh, yeah. We really would love to move to one of the Carolinas, so I don't know about the cold though, Seth.
Yeah, we're not down with that.
It's cold here.
If it's dropping into the frigid temperatures like 50s, I'm not interested. Maybe Maui is where we need to go.
Yeah, no. Christmas morning here, then headed to my dad's in Atlanta, which is 2 hours away. Oh, that's nice. It's only 2 hours away.
Yeah, that's cool that you get to be close to family.
Yeah, that's awesome. What is our topic on today about?
You know what it is. Today it's about fear. We're going to talk about fear. We're actually finishing off 2018 with a 4-podcast series on fear and your relationship with fear and kind of what it does in your life, which is funny because at the same time Whitney decided to finish off 2018 with a series on love. I went with fear for the podcast. She went with love for her.
So we're on the opposite spectrum
for
right
her
now.
life. But in full transparency, I'm not in support of fear. I'm not trying to increase fear.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually we are both working toward love. Hers is more like on the side of love, like choosing love, and mine's dealing with fear. So we really are both working in the same direction. It's just kind of funny the way that we named it.
That's true.
But we do have questions we want to hear from you today. First one, we try to keep it simple. What scares you? What makes you afraid?
That's a loaded question.
What scares you?
Let's see. Snakes scare me.
Whatever.
Just in case you didn't know, Jake really likes snakes. Now it's public, Jake.
I just have a good relationship with fear. That's all those things are about.
Oh, that could be true. I would say what scares me is, I would say getting complacent.
What scares Whitney is free-for-alls.
Free-for-all.
She does not like a free-for-all. She likes things to be directed, goal-oriented, intentional, purposeful. Free-for-alls, No. That is.
Now everyone's gonna think I'm super business serious.
If ever I have an idea, that's when I know it's a no go. It sounds like a free for all. Like, all right, I get it. I'm out. It's not happening.
No, I think I just lived most of my life being a free for all. Therefore, I don't really care for it.
Yeah.
So I would say complacency though. I really have a fear that I'm either not going to reach my highest potential or live to my highest potential, or that I will reach enough of it and then just like coast. And I don't know. I don't feel like that's our human purpose.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That life's a journey, not a destination. Thanks, Aerosmith.
Yeah, I have a hard time with that one. I feel like it's about the destination.
But you never arrive there.
Yeah, you just keep changing your destination.
Yeah, you never arrive. I guess
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying. Is that I think the purpose is the constant development, the constant growth, right?
Right.
You're never done growing.
Exactly.
And so the whole thing is a process. The whole
Yes.
the whole life till you die.
That is true.
Yeah.
What would you say scares you?
Well,
And y'all should be typing what scares you.
Yeah.
Even if you watch this after we're done being live.
we're just killing time so you can answer. It's like, we just want to hear from you guys. This isn't about us. I guess kind of similar stuff. Regret, or kind of missed opportunities.
Missed opportunities.
I think it's looking back and saying, oh man, it could have been, like I really try to make sure that I'm constantly putting myself in a place where I'm prepared for whatever opportunity comes next, not knowing what it's going to be or what it's going to look like or what skills I need. So I'm like, oh, let me just gather all the skills I can. Let me keep on working.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, I don't know, and we'll get to this more in the next question. Scare, I mean, we kind of use that word on purpose, but it really paints fear in a very negative light. Say, oh, I'm scared. That's not really any place.
Like you're paralyzed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Super cheesy line in a really good movie, Chasing Mavericks, when he says, fear's natural, panic will get you killed.
Yeah.
But it's accurate, just a cheesy moment.
Brian said what scares him is kids getting hurt. His kids getting hurt. That's probably really scary.
I could relate to that. I know that I used to. So there's this mountain in Yosemite called Half Dome, and I went up there regularly as a child. All the way through adult. Like my parents took an annual trip, and it just became almost every single year we would go up to the top of Half Dome, and when I would go up there, sometimes my mom went, I know you're watching right now, and I would go, I thought it was fun to go to the edge and like hop around on the rocks and like play around, see how close I could get, kind of play with fear a little bit, like feel it and do all this stuff.
I bet that
and my mom would just sit on the side, like not smiling, not happy, whatever. And I'm like, Mom, I'm okay, like don't, everything's gonna be fine. Well, then I took Paige up there. And I don't get scared in those type of situations. Like I don't know. I've been in them a lot. I'm very used to. I mean, I guess it is scared, but the fear is very familiar in those types of situations. And so it doesn't. I don't feel too rattled by it until it was Paige. And when she's up there and she's going pop 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 like this around the edge of it, boom, if she falls, she's dead. No question about it. It's over. And all of a sudden, I'm like, whoa, I'm going to throw up. Well, it was a very, very different experience. I agree with you, Brian. When it's kids, oh, man. Or just anyone you love that's in danger. It's a very different feeling.
Yeah, I totally see that. I know that when Duke does crazy... Just in case you don't know, Duke is our dog, and he's super cute.
Yeah.
He's our puppy. Okay, go ahead.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm switching slides.
Thanks, Brian, for that answer.
So this is kind of the more interesting question, in my opinion, is do you ever give much thought to your relationship with fear?
Much thought, meaning like consider if you like it?
Yeah, well, I kind of look at this idea not on default that fear is bad or that fear shouldn't be there. Like all those are questions that are kind of defining your relationship with fear. Do you feel that fear is okay? Are you, should you be feeling fear? Should you not be feeling fear? Do you try to feel fear? Do you think of fear as sort of a guide in your life that's warning you of potential dangers? Or do you think of fear as just sort of an uncontrollable emotion that emerges into our brain like loneliness, hunger, thirst, fear? Does it fall into that category? What's its purpose? What's your relationship? What do you get from it? How do you manage it?
Got it.
It's kind of what I'm curious about.
Amanda. Happy Wednesday.
I know that.
Oh, Brian made a comment about the last one.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see what he says. Brian said to the last question, I took my kids up the Manitou Incline over Thanksgiving. Oh, so awesome. We did that. We loved it. And it was fine climbing up, but hiking down the stairs with my kids was scary. I held their hands so tight. And the stairs were icy. Ooh, man, that is intense. Brian has 4 boys, right? Brian, you have 4 boys, yeah? So I bet they're always getting into adventure and scary moments. So I bet you have a lot of practice with that. Brian said, I think there is healthy fear and unhealthy fear. Yeah, for sure. Amanda says, fear is good, but has to be overcome. Jennifer, good morning, Jennifer. I try to practice my relationship with God over my relationship with fear. Anytime fear sneaks in, I turn and rely on my relationship with God. I love that, Jennifer. It's so true. I agree with Jennifer Hawley as well. I spent a lot of my life being motivated with fear. And so I felt fear often, and I lived from a place of fear. And I think that's actually pretty common. But the problem with that is that it's not sustainable. And so, and it's not healthy. But I would use high stress to make me take massive action. But then after, the down part would be, one, I'd be extremely exhausted. Like, just, I feel total depletion, like almost like depression, just because it's such a contrast. And then the second one is that I didn't know how to be motivated in a healthy way. Now that's different. I would say my relationship with fear is probably more just refusing to feel fear and knowing that that it's not a bad thing as long as I'm not taking action from a place of fear. What about you?
Yeah, I find it interesting. I've been fascinated by fear my whole life.
Yeah.
I feel like
because your fear is more adventure, where it's
Andy, it's all the same. It's all the same fear. But I've just been fascinated by playing with it. I remember at one point thinking that if I were standing feet on the ground right here, and I were just standing here, there's no chance I would fall. Like there's nothing that's gonna make me not be standing here on the ground, right? Unless someone came and hit me or something like that. But just in terms of like my coordination is enough. Oh my gosh, I just died. Wait till you hear where I was standing. My coordination is enough that I'm not gonna just fall down for no reason. However, if my toes were at the edge of a 2,000-foot cliff, all of a sudden I wouldn't just be standing here like this casually. I'd be standing like this, right? Like okay, I'm at the edge of the cliff. If at the edge of the cliff, I guess on default at one point, right? And so I was fascinated by that. Why is that? Why I'm not gonna fall? Nothing's gonna change about whether I'm standing on this tile or I'm standing at the edge of a cliff. And so I was like, why is that? Why do I get like this at the edge and just stand here when I'm like this? And so I started playing with that. I started going to the edges of cliffs and trying to stand like this, which my mom loves. And I would try to just stand like this. I'd even try the hardest is to like look up in the air like this when you're standing there. But here I am in the living room, watch me. I can look up, I can look down, I'm not going to fall. But for some reason...
There's no chance of you falling.
Yeah, exactly. But it's all fear, right? It's all imagined. It's all, it's the circumstance hasn't changed. I'm not going to fall. So I was very fascinated by that, started playing with it, whatever, and experiencing this and that. Then had a lot of sporting events, high pressure situations where you have to perform. and like you were talking about using fear as a motivation, I found really ineffective because if I'm using fear as my motivation to execute whatever task, I'm now executing it with tight muscles and a fast heart rate and short of breath and a dry mouth, and it was not the way I wanted my body to be working as I executed these things. But at the same time, what's really interesting is trying to push the fear away only made it stronger. If I stand there and I have to make my serve and I'm standing there and I'm going,
don't be scared.
yeah, if you're scared, you're going to miss. If you're scared, you're going to miss. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. Well, that just makes your fear grow more. Right? And so then I realized, like, oh, well, I can't be, I have to be okay with being afraid. You know, that's got to be part of it. I can't be always pushing my fear to the side. And so then I started thinking, well, what if I like built a better relationship with fear? What if fear and I were friends? And I'm not saying that I've done that. That's very difficult to do, but it's something that I've played with a lot. Tried to find opportunities. Oh, this is scary. Good. You know, like try to grab that thought, which I won't get into the whole long story, is where the interest in snakes came from to begin with. Was because of a recognized fear that I was like, no, let's play with that fear a little bit.
Let's see what our
Did I talk long enough that lots of people responded?
community has to say. Melissa, you fear your husband's gas problems. I could see that. Ashley's a big dude. Amanda says, I'm having heart surgery on the 20th, and it's something I have feared for a long time, and that fear held me back. I'm at a different place in my life now, and I realize that fear has no place in my life. It's okay to be afraid, but we can't allow our fear to paralyze us. Nice. I love that, Amanda. And we will pray for your surgery on the 20th. We'll put that on our prayer board. Jennifer says, I look at that as more of your adrenaline and stress level rather than fear. Yeah, that's so true. I guess it's all in the perspective and wording. And Brian says, wouldn't you say that it's biological, though? Fight or flight mentality, survival mentality kicks in. Jake Kirby said, snakes are not scary.
Totally agree.
Get out of here.
That was one thing I realized when I started messing around with snakes for the first time, is that when you get bit by a snake, after a second, you can't even find where the snake bit you. Not obviously, there are certain snakes you don't want to get bit by, but the majority of snakes are not poisonous or venomous. Jake, since I know that you're watching, but the bite's just gone. Whereas if a mosquito bites me, I'm suffering for 3 days. A mosquito gets me, I'm like 3 days. I'm like, oh my gosh, and yet no one's running from mosquitoes. No one's like, mosquito. They're just around everywhere, and you're living your life. They're way more dangerous than snakes, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's a thought that makes snakes not scary.
Yeah. As far as the adrenaline and fight or flight stuff, I think that fear is absolutely biological, and it's going to happen, and that's why I think it's so. I have found in my own experience of trying to perform under pressure, live my life with fear present, is that trying to push it away is actually kind of impossible and not helpful for me. That what I prefer to do is just sort of acknowledge that it's going to be there. It's going to be part of the
Brene
ride.
Brown actually has a really good quote and just like probably an entire book on that.
Yeah. Anything else you want to say?
Well, I know you like Brene Brown.
Yeah, you got excited. No, I agree. And what she says is that fear's not allowed to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a really good image. That it's all fear. The adrenaline, the dry mouth, the heart rate, the thoughts. It's all fear. It's all. I mean, it's what we name as fear. Now that fear, what we make fear mean, it could mean it's exciting, right? It could mean that we're really onto something big. That's one from Seth Godin that I really like. Is he's like, no, my fear. It doesn't mean stop unless there's immediate danger, but I can usually see that. But when I'm talking about learning, growth, taking chances, vulnerability, things like that what the fear means is that I'm on to something, that I'm about to do something that's incredible. And so when you make fear mean that, you're like, sweet, there's the fear. I must be on the right path. Mm-hmm. You know, it's just got a different meaning to you. But I really do like the way that Brene Brown puts that. She says that fear's always welcome in the car. It's just, you know, is that Brene Brown that does that letter? It's someone else that does the letter, I think. But the idea is that fear's always allowed because it's gonna be there. It's coming. And she's like, I'm going to go do big things, and I know you're coming. I know you're coming because you always do. But you're not allowed to drive. I'll be doing the driving.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really powerful way to say that.
Yeah. And I like that fear means, like you're saying, that what we're doing is important. Mm-hmm. And so it's actually, it means that we're getting out of our comfort zone, which I really like. Or that we already are out of our comfort zone. So it's not a bad thing. It's just how do we use fear?
Yeah.
Which I like.
There's a funny Venn diagram that people post that show like your comfort zone and then everything cool in life, and there's no overlap of like the two circles. Everything cool in life happens outside of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
it's true.
Fun.
I think about the like really good surfers or really good snowboarders, that kind of sport. I would say maybe more like adrenaline sport. They have to be willing to get beat up, like physically, like a board to the head, or you just see all different horrible pictures of their injuries, and you're like, man, you knew going out with what you were set out to do could end up with that kind of injury. That takes a lot of courage. And some people may argue and say, oh, it's reckless or whatever, but I don't think. I think you have a good relationship with fear. You know what could possibly happen, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome.
And do it in such a way that you're not
y'all
paralyzed.
Are so engaging. We love it. Brian said, should we search out experiences that cause fear in us? That's a good question, Brian.
Yes.
I say absolutely. On a weekly basis. And the reason is because the more we, actually my coach, Brooke Castillo, says it really well. She's like, she uses it in a sense of failure, like go out and fail. But I think it's the same thing, like go out and do things that make you uncomfortable, which is a form of fear, because then you get comfortable with that feeling of, oh man, things could go really wrong. Even like public speaking, I think that's a great example of fear that you could do and practice if you have that fear. Jake says, how would you correlate dealing with fear with one's ability to tolerate the pain of growth?
Of course, the scientist says correlate. That we need to correlate these two. I think I think it is there's a direct correlation. They grow together. I think that tolerating the pain of growth. I think that the way I correlate the two is I think that your relationship with fear and your relationship with the pain of growth go together. Because I think there's a difference between tolerating the pain of growth and like appreciating the pain of growth, like seeing the bigger picture, what it provides. Singing the sweeter song to get sappy on the thing, but looking for where the pain of growth is leading you. And I think that is directly correlated to looking for what you gain from not making fear mean stop the path that you're on. I think that's a perfect correlation. Mm-hmm. And I know that's probably what you're referring to, Jake, because I know that you know a lot about this stuff too.
Jake and Jake know each other way back.
Well, because we have the same name.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Jake's and Jake's. We're always
like this.
We're always cool with each other.
Well, this was a fun conversation, you guys. It was awesome to have your guys' questions and your comments, your contribution, because this is only fun when you guys join us for coffee.
Well, that's fun. Just want to see you too. The podcast comes out tomorrow, as always, when we do Coffee and Connection, and the podcast is on fear. And we kind of ease into it. It doesn't get too much in depth tomorrow, and little more how it applies to your life going forward in the next 3. But definitely an enjoyable journey. It's super fun to create, and so hopefully you go check that out.
Yeah, and let us know what you guys think about our new podcast image. We redid it.
Oh, who made the new podcast image?
No, it's just a little bit more along the lines of what Jake does for his podcast. Not so we're sitting down to have tea with you, but rather a little more adventurous and fun.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Well, you guys have a fabulous Wednesday.
Do that.
And
Go do something scary.
go do something scary. And then tell us about it next week for Coffee and Connection.
Yeah.
Deal?
Homework. Coffee and Connection homework.